Hello, this is Amin and you are watching session 61 of ASP.NET Core MVC tutorial. In this session, we are going to talk about SignInManager and how we can implement login module inside our web application and login and logout process. For this purpose, first we need to inject SignInManager class inside our web application, which is part of ASP.NET Core Identity. And this class has several methods, same as sign in async, sign out async, is sign in, or check password sign in async, or etc. Also, we need to create a view model, sign in view model for sign in module. And then we create one HTTP get action method, which we call it sign in inside our controller, user management controller. Then we need to create one view for this action method, the view that you can see, and this form and this view will refer to user management controller and sign in action method, and its method is post. Then we need to create a HTTP post action method for sign-in process, which process the sign-in. We will use SignInManager and PasswordSignInAsync method inside this action method. And then we implement sign-out action method, as you can see inside this slide. And we need to add these features inside the main menu, and we will add these features inside the main menu. Later in this session, we show you how you can make the main menu dynamic and show the proper options when we log in or when we need to log into the web application. For this purpose, we inject SignInManager inside our view or inside our layouts view. Let's flip to Visual Studio to add sign-in features to our web application. This is the project that we have been working so far throughout this tutorial. And first, I need to go to User Management Controller and inject SignInManager class, which is inside Microsoft.AspNetCore.Identity. And again, I need identity user here. And I call it SignInManager. Then I need to add a field for this purpose inside the controller. As you can see, I use control period and add the property here. Then I need to add one view model. I call this view model sign in view model. And I just copy and paste the code that I have explained inside the slides. The code that I added is not a complicated thing, just I added the required namespace, same as data annotations, and I have email and password, which both are required, and I use the proper data annotation, same as email address for email or data type password for password. Also, I will add one Boolean property, which we call it RememberMe, for doing the thing that you have saw inside the several website and the RememberMe checkbox, which when you click it, your session will remain on the browser for a while, and you can use that website without relogging after closing the browser. Next, I'm going back to the controller. Before continuation, I save the changes, and here I add one action with HTTP get decoration. It would be a public action method, and its result is I action result, and I call it sign in, and it's return a view. Then I need to add view for this action method. I can right click on the view and add a view. It would be a razor view empty, and I call it sign in. And I just copy and paste the code that I need for this view. It's not a complicated code. Just as you can see, I used sign in view model, the view model that I have just created as a model of this view, and the form will refer to user management sign in, and its method is post. Also, I have email and password input box, and also one checkbox which is input of type of check box, which which connected to RememberMe. Also, I will display all the summary of validation errors here at the bottom of the form. Let me save the changes and go back to user management controller and implement sign in action method with HTTP post. As I want to use a synchronous method, I use async here. And as I use async, its result would be a task uh, and task of action iAction method or iAction result. Its name is still sign in, and I will receive an object of the view model that I have created, which I use for sign in purposes. First, I need to check whether the model state is valid or not. It means whether the condition that I have set inside the view model is met or not. If the model state is valid, I create a variable. I call it result, and it's store the result of sign-in process. As I mentioned, it is a asynchronous asynchronous method. That's why I decorated with await. And here I used SignInManager. SignInManager has one method, which is sign in password. It has two overloaded versions. I'm using this overload version, which needs username, password, IsPersistant, and lookout failure as input parameter. The username is signin.email. I have a typo here. I correct that typo and I use that object.email and signin.password for password. And is persistent, as I mentioned, if you want to make a persistent cookie for this session, for this login, it means when we close the browser, the cookie is still stored inside the browser, and we don't need to re-log in after we reopen the browser and go to this web application. If we set it to true, the cookie session will be persistent. Otherwise, it would be a session for duration of that browser. And I use sign in RememberMe for this purpose. And also we have one feature, lookout on failure. We will discuss it later. For now, I set it as false. Then I need to check whether the result of this method would be true or false, or is succeed or not. I will check result.succeed. If result is succeed would be true, it means the username and password is correct. And I will redirect the web application to home index. That's why I return redirect to action index and home. Also, if the username and password would be incorrect, I need to inform the user. I can use model state.add model error. I have already used this feature in previous session. If you are not familiar with this feature, you can watch previous session. And this method just add a validation error inside the model state. Its key would be null, and I pass this message, username or password is incorrect. Also, if model state is not valid, I should return the view. Then I save the changes. Next, I need to add sign out action method. It would be a HTTP post. It would be a public action method. As I want to use async method, I decorate this action method to async. And its result would be task of I action result. And I call it sign out. It doesn't need any input parameter. And it's just it's just used sign in manager, sign out method, and it's redirect to index home. Let me save the changes. Next, I need to add this feature to the menu, sign in and sign out to the menu of the application. That's why I'm going to view shared main layout. And here, as you can see, previous session, I added a registered user here. And next, I need to add sign in. You can see I use ASP controller user management and ASP action sign in, and I call it login. Also, as you can see here, inside the controller, I use HTTP post. That's why I should pass this request with a form. Let me copy and paste this piece of code. And here I should use a form. The form will refer to user management controller and sign out action method. I will double check the action method name and also its method would be post. Then I use a button here. Its type would be submit. And I need some bootstrap classes to make it in the way that I want. Also, its label would be sign out. I don't need this line of code anymore. I save the changes and build the project to see what I have now. Project build succeeded. And I check the project. Project is up and running. And as you can see, I have registered user, login, and sign out option here. I'm going to check login. And first, I'm trying to log in with incorrect username or password. And you can see I have this message here. Username or password is incorrect. Next, I'm trying to sign in with the correct username and password. But before proceeding, I'm going to check the browser developer tools. And here inside the storage cookies, you can see I have these cookies for my web application. I'm trying to sign in with the correct username and password. And again, I check the cookie. This time you can see I have IsPersistant application, and my web application is redirected to home index. And it seems I log in successfully. Next, I'm trying to sign out from the web application. And again, I check the cookies. And you can see I don't have that identity cookies anymore. Also, I'm trying to check the RememberMe buttons and persistent cookies. First, I'm trying to log in again without marking this option. And you can see I have these cookies here. I close the browser and reopen the browser and check whether this cookie is persisted or not. I reopen the browser and try to go to the web application. The web application is up and running, and I check the developer tools. But you can see I don't have that cookie anymore. But this time I'm trying to log in again. But I select Remember Me and sign in. As expected, I have the ASP.NET Core.Identity application cookies here available. This time I close the application and reopen it inside the new browser. And again, I check the cookies. You can see I still have ASP.NET Core Identity application, and I just can remove these cookies by pressing sign out button, sign out menu. Next, I want to make this menu a little bit dynamic. It means when the user is logging, I just have sign out option. When the user is not logging, I should have registered user and login option, and I shouldn't have sign out option anymore. Let's back to Visual Studio, and for this purpose, I should use sign in manager class, and as you can see, this class is inside Microsoft ASP.NET Core Identity. That's why first I should add this namespace to the place to the view that I want to check whether the user is logged in or sign in or not. Next, I need to inject this class inside this view or layout. It is SignInManager, and it needs identity user. And I call it SignInManager. Then here, I check whether the user is signed in or not. I use Razor engine, and I use the injected class. And this time I use is sign in. It needs user. Then if it's returned true, it means the user is already logged in. That's why I just need to display sign out option here. Otherwise, if the user is not signed in, the else part will be triggered and I will display registered and login option. Let me save the changes and build the project again. I'm going back to the browser and refresh the page. I don't need these developer tools anymore. And this time you can see I have just registered user and login option. I'm trying to log into the application. I log in and it seems it works perfectly and I have sign out option. If I sign out from the web application, you can see I again have registered user and login option. In this session, we implement login module for our web application. We used SignInManager class and its method. Also, we use this class and isSignIn method inside the view and the layout that I had inside my web application. And we implement the changes that I expected at the first of this session. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and share your idea with ourselves. We need your support to continue this tutorial series. Also, don't forget to follow us on our social media and share your idea with us there as well. Once more, thank you for being with us.